because after all, I am just another struggling writer. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Just Another Struggling Writer, the beleaguered author's one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. And today we are going to be talking about 5 tips to break through writer's block. Now, before we get into the tips, first a quick disclaimer. Yes, I am someone who definitely believes that writer's block does exist. And I think it actually takes on 2 different forms. The first form to me is a mental health related writer's block. And that is something that I regularly suffer, as you guys well know by now. It is where whatever is going on with your brain chemistry prevents you from actively being creative. And that, again, is something that I experience regularly. As much as I want to be working on something creative, be that content creation or my writing itself, I just can't make myself do it. And these periods of lows can stretch for weeks or even months at a time. And no matter how hard I try, no matter what mental exercises I do, I just can't bring myself back to the page. We are not going to be talking about that kind of writer's block today because, as I said, everyone's mental health is different and these tips aren't really meant to address your mental health. I'm going to be talking about what I think of as the other kind of writer's block, the kind that many people will tell you isn't even real. I still do think that it's real. Yes, it can be used as a crutch and an excuse to not write when you just don't feel like it, but I don't think that makes it not real. I just think it makes it a convenient fallback whenever you are having trouble coming to the page and maybe don't even feel like it. And luckily, I do have 5 tips to help break you out of that cycle. To get started, my first tip is to find your brainstorming method and use it liberally. And what I mean by that is everyone has a different sort of activity or rote mechanical thing that they do that, without even meaning to or trying, tends to generate creative ideas. A lot of people tell me that they have their best ideas in the shower. It could be when you're on your commute and just mindlessly driving the same route over and over. It could be when you're doing the dishes or walking the dog. Anytime where you are otherwise engaged with something maybe kind of rote and mindless and you start getting those creative ideas starting to come in. For me, it's right before I go to sleep. I always laugh about how I get my best ideas right in that liminal space between being awake and falling asleep. And over the last several years, I have learned to actually incorporate the fact that my brain does that into my brainstorming process. So whenever I am feeling stuck, I will just tell myself, I guess it's time to go to sleep, or maybe even just take a nap, and I will physically get up from my desk or wherever I'm working and take off my shoes or my slippers and get into bed and take off my glasses and my earrings and everything and lay down and prepare to go to sleep. Even if it's not at night, I find that that kind of tricks my brain into the process of getting those creative juices flowing again. So I encourage you to do something similar with your own brainstorming process. If you're someone who gets their best ideas in the shower and you are in the middle of your draft and having trouble figuring out what to do next, get up and get in the shower. Even if you're not doing a full wash or whatever, stand under the water and let your brain do its thing. If you're someone who gets their ideas on their commute while you're driving, go take a drive. Just go circle around the block in your car. Take your dog out for a walk, do a load of dishes, whatever it is that mimics those moments where you get your best creative ideas, go ahead and do it. That time is still productive and to me counts as writing because you're doing what it takes to get back to the page. Ignoring the problem isn't going to solve anything, and beating your head against the problem for hours and hours and hours isn't going to help you either. So again, just start to think about, when is it that I get my best ideas? It could be even when you're at work doing something really mindless and rote. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to walk away from your desk and just go do it, even if it might be a little bit inconvenient. Make it part of your process because I promise you, it'll help. Tip number 2 to combat writer's block is to change the format in which you are writing. Now, this could be something as small as just changing the font you use in your word processor, but it can also mean changing what word processor you're using at all. Even as far as going up to the extreme of what I do, which is I get out a notebook and I start handwriting the next scene. I actually discovered this all the way back in 2017 when I was writing again for the very first time for Nano. And in those early days, I was really struggling, not just because I was really out of practice, but because I felt really intimidated by a blank Word document and the blinking cursor. And so what I did instead was I just got out a notebook and started writing down what my ideas were. And from there, I was able to write the next scene and the next chapter until I had written the entire draft by hand. I am not joking, and I still love and miss utilizing that method of writing to this day. So if you find yourself in your document and you're really struggling, just changing the method that you are using to write can trigger some sort of switch in your brain and get you unstuck. So if you're using Google Docs, maybe just switch over to Word and change the font and the color even. Make it just sort of a silly little exercise rather than something that has all that pressure on it, and you may find it easier to come to. I am someone who highly recommends the longhand method, but also you could try dictation. If you are someone who verbally processes things and you just want to hear it out loud, leave yourself voice notes or try dictating directly into the document and then just cleaning it up afterwards. Seeing your story in a different format changes something about the way that you interact with it. And even if it's just a temporary measure, I'm not saying that you should go out and write the rest of your draft in whatever form you've changed it to. But like I said, even just small changes can trigger a release of tension and a release of pressure and help you feel like it's okay to move on for whatever reason you may be stuck. And as a bonus tip, this also goes with changing the environment in which you are writing. If you're feeling too much pressure writing at your dedicated writing space, I would recommend changing where you're sitting, even if it's moving to your bed or your couch or going out to a coffee shop or the library. Just changing your environment can trigger something in your brain. Tip number 3, and this is going to be a hard one because it is going to ask you to find and fix what's wrong. And by that, I mean, I have found that a lot of times writer's block is triggered when I have done something wrong in the draft itself. It could be that I was not following my outline, or I was following it too rigidly and it didn't allow for the characters to grow and adapt to the situation organically. It could be that I wrote myself into a corner, or I just didn't end up liking an interaction or a scene that I had done previously. And in those cases, I have to go back and find the point at which I feel the most dissatisfied and interrogate whether or not that is creating the block, whether or not it's stymieing my ability to move on. And if it is, I need to just bite the bullet and get rid of it and rewrite whatever it is, a scene or an interaction or even a whole chapter. I know that's scary because especially in a drafting phase, we all want to be moving forward, not necessarily back. But if the writer's block has gotten so bad that you are not able to progress, then you're in a holding pattern anyway, and going backward is actually going to be a step in the right direction. So for this tip, my advice is definitely to not be afraid to interrogate things that you might have issues with in your draft. If, and this is an important caveat, they are holding you back from progressing. If you're someone who knows that things are going to be wrong, but you are just going to go back and fix it in revision and you're just steamrolling ahead, don't stop your momentum to go fix what's wrong for sure. But if you are already at a standstill, moving backward is still movement. And if you can clear whatever is creating the blockage, it is going to be a net positive in the long run. So again, just don't be afraid to interrogate what might need to be fixed if you are feeling in a rut and unable to move on. Tip number 4, and this might be another hard one because I know a lot of us writers are introverts, but this tip is about finding your writing friends and having a discussion about your issues with them. Even if you're not necessarily comfortable sharing the details of your plot or actually sharing with them the content or the chapters or whatever, you can still work through your feelings of being stuck, what came before, how long you've been in this rut, and ask about what their experiences with writer's block is, because a lot of times, even without necessarily knowing the details of what you're working on, your writer friends have likely experienced the exact same thing you have and might have ideas on how to navigate such a situation. Again, not necessarily in the story, but inside your own head and with your own feelings. Although I definitely do encourage that you find writer's friends with whom you're comfortable sharing your work, because they are going to help you in those times of crisis where you're unsure or you feel stuck or you're having trouble getting motivated coming back to the page. Because even if they don't have ideas on how to move forward, they can at least be accountability buddies or someone you can body double with. I find that body doubling is the most effective tool to get me out of a writing rut when I truly am just like, ugh, I don't feel like writing. If I see one of my friends on a sprint, the best thing for me to do in that moment is to hop in the sprint with them, because 9 times out of 10, I am going to feel motivated by their progress. So if you're new to the writing community and don't feel like you have any writing buddies with whom you can talk about your issues with or do any of that body doubling, you're wrong, because hi, it's me, I am your writing friend. Leave your information in the comments below or feel free to DM me on Instagram. I am here for you. I want to be your writing buddy, because after all, I am just another struggling writer and I have been through it as much as you have. So please find a community. They are going to be so important for your development anyway, just in terms of finding critique partners and beta readers and people to bounce ideas off of, and they'll help you in these moments. So again, if you're new to this community, start now. Don't wait until you're almost at the end of the process, because making friends and establishing yourself within a community always takes time. So definitely start reaching out now. And if you are nervous about that, let me be your first one. And then finally, tip number 5 to break through writer's block is another probably counterintuitive tip, and that is to just admit that you need to take a break. This comes a little bit closer to the mental health writer's block that I talked about, but it can be as simple as momentary burnout preventing you from really being able to engage with the page in the way that you want. And in those moments, as backward as it sounds, the best thing to do is to take a step back and get some distance from the project. It doesn't have to be for very long, maybe just an evening or two, or maybe a week. If you get more than a month, then you're talking about maybe a longer hiatus. But if you need a week or two to refill your creative well, take it. It is going to be so much healthier and more productive for you in the long run if you do so. And while you are taking your step back, the best thing I think to do to fill that time of not writing is engage in other creative hobbies. Reading is the first and foremost thing I definitely recommend, but also engaging with any other kind of storytelling, whether that be video games or movies or TV shows. Anything that is a story that makes you think about the craft of storytelling is effective in that way. It doesn't necessarily need to be just a book. I remember I got one of my earliest story ideas from playing a strategy game. A strategy game, nothing with any sort of storytelling component to it at all. And yet, because my creative well was so full, the storytelling just started pouring out of me and filling in the gaps. And to that point, whatever hobby you engage in during this stepping back period doesn't necessarily need to be story related either. It could be anything else that's creative, like knitting, or I like to do cross stitching. I have talked about many times about how when I'm feeling stuck, I'll just pick up my cross stitching and just do a row of stitches. And a lot of times the answer will come to me in the process. Painting, woodworking, music, any of it, anything that is creative engages the same part of your brain and will help regenerate and rejuvenate your passion for your project, I promise. Now, the one specific piece of advice I have for you with regards to this tip is to set a specific firm date to return to your project. So if you're feeling stuck on a scene or you're feeling just burned out or creatively dry, take, say, 1 week to have a specific time where you are not engaging with writing at all if you can help it, and be firm about coming back to the page after that week has passed. So if you are feeling stuck on a Tuesday, the next 7 days from there, you are just taking a break, and the following Tuesday you will be back at it. Because if you let that deadline pass, then you are either dealing with one of two things. You're still burnt out, or you're starting to use the writer's block as a crutch to not write. And I am someone who is definitely guilty of that, so believe it when I say that it can be hard to differentiate the two. You'll know when you're feeling creatively full again, because you'll probably start thinking about other creative projects you could be working on. At that point, harness that energy and sit back down at your desk and get back to writing. Again, with the caveat that if it turns out that your mental health just is not letting you return, that's another story completely. But just a word of caution to not let taking a break become something that extends weeks and months long for no good reason. And that's it. 5 tips that I hope will help you the next time you're feeling creatively blocked. If you have any tips like these, let me know in the comments. I'm always on the hunt for more tips and tricks to help me stay motivated and on top of my deadlines. But with that, thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe, or consider leaving a comment down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me like a sledgehammer emoji for smashing through the writer's block. In my next video, I will have a little writing vlog for you, but it's kind of less of a vlog and more of a venting of my anxiety about the feedback I anticipate for Seekers of Empyrean. I hope you look forward to it, as enticing as that sounds, and I will see you then. Bye.